The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Hey, Mark. It's George Santos here. A lot of people are telling me you're a liar.
That's pure speculation.
What's a little lie between friends?
Put that coffee down.
Morning.
We're in better shape, but I don't think we're in wildly better shape.
I stand corrected.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Good day, sir.
Seriously, what the
Why are you yelling?
Oh my God, I'm so excited that I get a chance to visit so many what I hope are exciting new films and streaming shows with the guy who is without peer as a movie and cultural critic. He's called the Culture Blaster for a reason. He knows it all. Music, movies. How does he do it? I don't know. I don't want to know. I'm just glad he's here. How about it for the amazing Michael Snyder, who comes and goes on a rainbow? I'm so excited that we're together, Michael Snyder.
Well, it's always a boon and a delight, and I am feeling autumnal, Mark. Do you know that? Kind of crispness in the air and that smell of burning wood, and I really should cut back on the arson. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But
thank you for opening with an arson joke, because it's not often that we hear one. Michael Snyder, I will not delay at all in getting right into things. I'm excited because there's this Coppola film, and it looks like it's got a lot of really, talented people associated with it, not to mention Francis Ford Coppola. What did you think of Megalopolis?
Well, Megalopolis is possibly the final film by the venerable movie maker Francis Ford Coppola. You know, the man behind the Godfather trilogy and Apocalypse Now. And I started running out of great films there. But no, he's still got amazing skills. And Megalopolis is an everything but the kitchen sink extravaganza. And it kind of echoes, of all things, Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged and Ayn Rand's philosophy. I can't even remember. There's some kind of term that they assigned to this overall life philosophy espoused by Ayn Rand in the author's novels. But this is set in a retro-futuristic New York City, here reimagined as New Rome, where architect Caesar Catalina, played by the seemingly omnipresent Adam Driver, wants to create his utopian living space of tomorrow, regardless of the cost in money, or I'm assuming lives. And that's very Randian, I believe. Anyway, at the same time, Caesar is in conflict with the city government. They're not crazy about his attempts to remake and remodel the skyline. And he's caught in a supposedly romantic triangle with the mayor's daughter, played by Natalie Emmanuel, and a celebrity TV business channel reporter named Wow Platinum. And that character is also known as the Money Bunny, kind of echoing.
I'm sorry, Wow Platinum is the name of, is it based on a book or something, or is this an original screenplay?
No. This is from whole cloth. The Wow Platinum is the name that Coppola, the screenwriter, has assigned to this Money Bunny. And so it made me think of Maria Bartiromo's Money Honey moniker when she was in Fox Business. Yeah. Anyway, this character, Wow Platinum, is played by Aubrey Plaza. And, again, it's kind of a love triangle or a sex triangle. And I'm thinking, oh, Caesar, what a scamp. Anyway, Megalopolis is ambitious. It's audacious. It's kind of obvious in places. It gets corny. I mean, Wow Platinum. It gets ponderous. It's infuriating at times. It is beautiful to look at. It gets derivative, or shall we say, it pays homage to past great works of cinema. But it's also buoyed by cheerfully over-the-top performances by a couple of on-screen iconoclasts, Plaza, and an unfettered and unhinged Shia LaBeouf. And they stand out, even amid a cast populated by Driver, Giancarlo Esposito as the amoral mayor, Franklin Cicero, John Voight as a wealthy and self-serving zillionaire named, get ready, Hamilton Crassus III. You see what I mean by, obvious?
It seems just, I don't know, man. Okay, yeah.
But the character, the character is sort of like Voight's pal Trump, so maybe that's why Coppola cast him.
Let me just ask you, does he choose these names and these sort of over-the-top kinds of names that might reflect over-the-top characters to make this a bit of a caricature within it all, or is it...
That had to have been the sensibility afoot here. Dustin Hoffman is in this thing as an advisor to the mayor. Lawrence Fishburne is Caesar's closest ally. Plus, you got Coppola family members Talia Shire and Jason Schwartzman, and hang on, even SNL's Chloe Feynman in a small supporting role.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it does seem like it's
Don
stuffed.
Pardo, Chloe Feynman. I was like, what? Anyway, Francis is an older gentleman, but is clearly quite moved to reflect on the self-destructive, divisive, greedy, loveless, hedonistic elements of modern society. And sometimes, Mark, his efforts are absolutely inspiring, especially on the visual front. The philosophical aspects are noble and laudable when they sift through the spectacle, and kind of other times Megalopolis sinks under the weight of its and his lofty aspirations. But I didn't think I was wasting my time for the entire 2 hours plus I watched this at an IMAX theater. It was filled with moments that were dazzling.
Well, it sounds as though you're a little divided on it, is what I'm getting, which reflects respect, it sounds like, for the grandness of the effort, that is visual grandeur and also just putting all of these elements together. And it sounds like a pretty grand story. It doesn't sound so different than kind of a Bonfire of the Vanities sort of project, where there's a lot of stuff that you somehow have to corral and turn into story. But I don't know, at the end of your review, how successfully Francis Ford Coppola has done it.
Intermittently successful. And I think Bonfire of the Vanities is an interesting touchstone. I mean, there are a lot of influences at play here. I have to say, visually, again, stunning. I'm sitting with our friend Alan at the screening, and one moment near the climax starts happening, and he and I turn to one another silently. And then as we're leaving, we both say, like that, where you say something at the same time, jinx. We both say, things to come, referencing a classic film from the late 30s that Francis obviously was channeling for those moments,
Yeah. It sounds like at the end of it, would you say it's a qualified recommendation? I'm not getting great enthusiasm for the project from you.
I am really on the fence about it, because every time it scores, it then fumbles, and
right. It's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, it seems like.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And let's give Francis the benefit of the doubt: 2 steps forward and only 1 step back. But
okay, yeah.
Again, it's. I think film lovers should probably see this movie, because it is the work of a master filmmaker.
All right, moving on. What else do you have?
Speaking of audacity, because we love audacity. The Substance is a bold and pointed wallow in squishy body horror, social commentary, and very dark comedy. And it addresses the maxim that appearances are skin deep, the idea that society is obsessed with youth and beauty, the compulsive mutations of fashion, the siren's call of fame, and the lure and perils of addiction. And if it calls to mind some of the gut-wrenching, viscera of certain David Cronenberg movies, I would guess it's quite deliberate. So
I've waited. I can't resist. Viscera, I have to ding. All right, go ahead, please.
Okay, the basics of The Substance, written and directed with savvy fervor by Coralie Fargeat, is about a fading television exercise queen and former middling movie star. Think Jane Fonda without a pedigree. And she's informed by a slimy network executive that her slipping ratings mandate that she will be replaced by a newer, fresher model. So, learning of a black market pharmaceutical serum, which is the substance of the title, something that can restore her youth and vitality, she opts to try the product with seemingly successful, though thoroughly wrenching results. The procedure creates this literal duality that turns out to be a transformation too far. So crucial to making the sometimes grisly proceedings of the substance work is a truly gutsy, career-reviving performance by Demi Moore. She's riveting and kind of unsettling as a starlet turned fitness guru turned has-been, Elizabeth Sparkle, and she is matched step for step by Margaret Qualley, daughter of Andy McDowell, and so good in Stars at Noon, Sanctuary, and Poor Things. And Qualley plays the 20-something version of Demi's character, or is she that at all? To tell you more about it would be to undercut the power of the movie. But I do want to point out that the politically misbegotten Dennis Quaid, whose most recent high-profile gig was playing Ronnie Reagan, and I like to call him Ronnie Reagan, in the execrable biopic Reagan, he's just right as Harvey, the vile, kind of chauvinistic network executive who gleefully fires Elizabeth Sparkle from her own long-running aerobics show. So this is smart and funny, and it's popping with color and verve. The substance is kind of skin-crawlingly exciting in a way, and it may not be for the faint of heart and the weak of stomach, but the rest of us should revel in it. Screenwriter-director Farjad has made one of the most compelling and mind-blowing movies I've seen this year, and I was there for it from its sly beginning to its bonkers end. It is in theaters.
Sounds like you kind of like that, although it sounds like it could be a bit creepy at times.
It's extremely creepy, and I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you use the word execrable?
Yeah, I did. Execrable.
Gosh, I gotta ding it. All right, impressive. He liked it. The Substance, Demi Moore, and the rest of her pals, Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid, in theaters. What else do you have, Michael Snyder?
All right, well, speaking of the grotesque, because I want to roll here, noted hunk Sebastian Stan, that's Bucky Barnes, the tormented Winter Soldier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and rocker Tommy Lee in the Pam and Tommy miniseries. He plays totally against type for at least a while in the surreal psychological thriller A Different Man. So Stan plays struggling New York City actor Edward, whose deformed features, kind of reminiscent of the infamous Elephant Man, allow him to play afflicted characters in PSAs about the inclusion and acceptance of people with disabilities. But, there's little else work for him until he undergoes an experimental medical procedure that turns him into Sebastian Stan, or to be exact, someone that good looking. So suddenly, the attractive, kindly, but with boundaries female playwright in his apartment building takes what seems to be a romantic interest in him and offers him a lead role in a play that seems to reflect his own tormented journey. But his inner self is still so ripped up by the life he led before transformation that things don't go quite how he expected. And all of that is compounded by another actor with a similar background to that of Edward. And this guy shows up on the scene. It's written and directed by Aaron Schimberg, and it possesses occasional elements of very mordant humor. A Different Man is memorable and disturbing, an even troubling movie that gets increasingly nightmarish in the best possible way while expressing a deep humanity in its depiction of Edward's really tumultuous struggle. I saw it around a month ago, and it is still haunting me. A Different Man in theaters.
That's it. Did you use the word mordant?
I did.
The intrigue is real with me on this movie. I want to ask you, how creepy is it?
I would say this and The Substance are Mark looks away from the screen creepy at times. And
okay.
You know,
But it's
I'm
not
just telling you.
okay. Yeah. They're not horror movies though at all.
Oh, well, there's horror implicit in both of them, and the body horror of the substance is the sort of stuff that's really going to make people incredibly uneasy. And yet, both of them are very, very good films. I think they're better films than Megalopolis, taken on the whole.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm getting from your review as well. Okay, what else do you have, sir?
Okay, although there's kind of a sense we've been here before, Lee is a biopic about one of the greatest war correspondents ever. Former model turned photographer Lee Miller, an American expat in Europe who is hanging out with the likes of artists Man Ray and Picasso as World War II starts to ramp up. So Lee gets involved with a British art curator and painter played by Alexander Skarsgård as Britain is pulled into the fray, but she decides she wants to do her part by going to the front as a photographer. And by the way, I'm burying the lead. Lee is played to a fare thee well by Kate Winslet. She is the center.
She looks unrecognizable almost in the poster.
Yeah, she's really amazing in this movie. She's head and shoulders better than the film itself, but the film has definitely got some value to it. Lee Miller, the character Winslet plays, goes to the editor of Vogue in London and convinces her to credential Lee so she can shoot at the front. And it's a bit of a battle, but she manages to buck the rules against women at the front, and partnered with a colleague from Life magazine, Lee makes her way into the European theater of war and takes some of the most iconic and chilling photographs shot during this bloody conflict. The movie is conventional, but it has moments of great impact. And again, a superb performance by Kate Winslet as Lee. Plus, again, the cast is impressive. Josh O'Connor from Challengers plays a young man interviewing the older Lee. By the way, amazing prosthetics, seamless on Winslet. Andy Samberg, the SNL vet, star of the police station sitcom Brooklyn Nine-Nine and the rom-com Palm Springs, is the Life magazine correspondent. Andrea Riseborough is Lee's editor at Vogue UK, and in a small but really pivotal role, Marianne Cotillard, best known for her performance as French chanteuse Edith Piaf in La Vie en Rose, is also there. And despite the worthiness of telling Miller's story, it's kind of a well-trod setting, On the other hand, anything that reminds people of the evil of the Nazis and the ongoing menace of fascism is important. It can happen here, as we see on a regular basis. And Winslet is marvelous in the role of this significant woman and journalistic groundbreaker. It's directed by cinematographer Ellen Kuras. Lee deserves a watch, even if it isn't really a classic. It's in select theaters.
It's not a true story, right?
It is a true story.
Oh,
Absolutely a true story. I led the review saying that it's based on the life of this acclaimed war correspondent.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. What I got from that maybe was it's based on it, but it's not. It was inspired by, but it's not a true story. But
no, it's absolutely a true story.
Yeah, I misunderstood. So
I misspoke.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm sorry.
It's a biopic.
Okay.
It's a biopic. That usually means a true story.
Did you say biopic?
I did indeed.
All right. Well,
my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not going to put your feet to the fire, Mark. You're a busy man. I hear you.
I am busy, and I'm basically listening to like 60% of what most people say. I really am. So don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's about me.
What?
Okay.
You do you, Mark. All right. The Hasbro toy company has made bank with the smash hit movie based on their signature doll, Barbie. I mean, now,
when you say it's based on the signature doll, is it a biopic type thing, or
the Barbie biopic? That's absolutely right.
All right.
Anyway, before that, they made money with the film and TV franchise spun out of their Transformers line of toy battle robots that can transform into various types of mini cars and trucks. You may recall the ads, Transformers, more than meets the eye, and robots in disguise. And in any case, I've never been much of a fan of the toys or the live action and animated Transformers projects, except for Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld, which was well written and surprisingly witty a number of years ago. But I actually enjoyed Transformers 1, which is a new animated feature film origin story set on Cybertron, the homeworld of the sentient Transformers robots. It recounts how the noble Optimus Prime and the villainous Megatron, the best of enemies throughout the franchise, were once friends and allies until circumstances turned them against one another. The movie has a strong script with a quest narrative featuring a battle for survival during a war for control of the planet, and solid characterizations enhanced by voice work from Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Brian Tyree Henry, Keegan-Michael Key. Lawrence Fishburne is back from Megalopolis.
Nice
and
to see
John
those people finally getting some work.
And wait, and John Hamm, okay? A little slice of ham as well.
Like, it's like they're not voiceover performers who could do all those parts. We have to get other established on-screen camera stars to do it.
Mark, I wish you could have been one of the robots in this, but no, they were going for John Hamm. I'm sorry.
What?
It would have been two brands of ham. Anyway, as directed by Pixar vet Josh Cooley, it looks badass and downright spectacular in an ultra video game way. And somehow, despite being based on a line of toys, it has some emotional weight to it. Then again, Cooley wrote the script for Pixar's emotion-driven Inside Out, and he directed Toy Story 4 from his original story. So he knows how to hit the heartstrings even when toys are involved. Transformers 1 is in theaters.
Wow, I'm excited to see it. We're given reason to see it.
Yeah, not for you.
It's not really for me.
Let me quickly. Well, go ahead.
What else do you have for us, Greg?
I'm just going to quickly dismiss Never Let Go, which is kind of a sci-fi horror thriller directed by somebody who knows what he's doing, Alexandre Aja. And this guy has made some really interesting films, starting with the French horror movie High Tension. He's done a remake of The Hills Have Eyes. In the case of, he did Crawl, which is another creepy movie. In the case of Never Let Go, he has, of all people, Halle Berry playing a single mother with twin sons in a kind of a rural rundown house, and it seems like it's a post-apocalyptic situation because she doesn't want the boys to leave the house unless they're attached to a very, very long rope because, I don't know, mutants, creatures lurk in the woods and will take them out. And it turns out to be not quite what you think as you're watching it, and it's kind of dark and kind of murky, and I will say Barry is quite good, and Aja knows what he's doing, but it never really comes together and works, and there are long kind of dull passages of it that I suppose are meant to be atmospheric, so Never Let Go really didn't work that well for me. It has its moments, and the kids who play her sons are pretty good young actors, but it just never... the evil is supposed to be palpable, but, it didn't strike me as such. It does have moments of tension, but, I wish it had been better.
What else do you have?
I have something that I am definitely interested in telling you about because it's something you can watch on Apple TV. By the way, Never Let Go is in theaters. It's called Wolfs, WOLFS, and it's a kind of a bickering buddy pick starring, of all people, George Clooney and Brad Pitt, who I bet in real life are kind of bickering buddies. I'm just guessing right now. But this is not their best work. But they play a couple of fixers who are called in by a high-profile executive type who is played by a wonderful actress and not given a whole lot to do, that being Amy Ryan, when a dead young man is in her bed at her hotel room. And it looks pretty ugly. And if everything comes out, I mean, it's possible her life and career are ruined. So she reaches out to a fixer, and two guys end up showing up, and they are rivals. And they are, of course, played by Clooney and Pitt. And weirdly enough, Amy Ryan is only in the first, 15, 20 minutes of the film. And then, we lose her. But we then have Clooney and Pitt trying to take care of her issue and uncovering a drug ring, some kind of nearly unconscious kid who might be a courier who's afraid of being chased down by the drug lords and killed. And both guys go into protective mode on this schlemiel. And, there are moments, and the scenes with the two actors, as they do in previous films, kind of crackle. And there's a certain measure of wit and fun. And it's written and directed by an actor, a filmmaker, John Watts, who has done the Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland, which are very funny and very sharp and very exciting. But it doesn't have that punch. It's not great. It's diverting. It's something you might want to watch on Apple. But if this was going direct to theaters, I would be like, this is certainly lesser work by Clooney, Pitt, and Watts.
Wow. I mean, God, how do these projects come together? You have two major stars in Clooney and Pitt. And I'm wondering, it comes, and a major director, as you say, in Watts.
Yeah, a multi-billion-dollar, big box office from all three of those guys.
Yeah, he makes a deal with Apple TV, and this ends up as a project that goes right to streamer, right? It was never in the theater.
Pretty much. It may have had a for your consideration run in New York and LA, but it's essentially direct.
I'd love to know how this deal came together to begin with. But anyway, those
names and that clout. And now here's the flip side of that. Are you ready? One of the best movies I've seen this year. Coming from screenwriter and director Azazel Jacobs, his three daughters on Netflix, and pretty much direct to Netflix, is one of the best dramas I've seen in not just this year, but in quite a while. It's an insightful look at the strained family dynamic between three sisters, two connected by blood and the other adopted, and they're facing the imminent death of their bedridden, semi-conscious father in his New York City apartment. So His Three Daughters is not only a wrenching and honest depiction of sibling rivalry and how children can grow up and grow apart as a result of nurture, nature, or circumstance. It's also an examination of how parenting and familial love can transcend biology. So thanks to inspired casting, Jacobs, who, by the way, his previous movies include The Provocative French Exit and The Lovers, both of which I could recommend, Jacobs can lean on three powerhouse actresses. Carrie Coon, who has been doing bang-up work on HBO's The Gilded Age. Elizabeth Olsen, who I don't think she's ever given a bad performance, and her most high-profile work is in the Marvel movies, but she's done indie dramas and been spectacular. And Natasha Lyonne of Russian Doll and Poker Face, and they play the daughters of the title. So Kuhn is Katie, the eldest. She's a control freak whose ordered life in Brooklyn has been challenged by her rebellious teenage daughter. Olsen is Christina, a spiritual kind of people pleaser in from the West Coast, and she's suffering separation anxiety about being away from her own children. And Leone is Rachel, who is sort of a slacker, having continued to live with the father who adopted her when he married her mother after his first wife, who was the mother of Katie and Christina, passed away. So Rachel has shared an ongoing rapport with the father, unlike her stepsisters, and that becomes a point of contention. Each woman delivers a richly rendered performance that's so raw and so true that it can kind of get uncomfortable watching the interactions between them. Their one-on-ones are memorable. The scenes with all three of them going at it are thrilling. And the denouement of the movie as the stressed women cope with the fate of their father, who, by the way, is played by the wonderful veteran character actor J.O. Sanders. This is heartbreaking in the most satisfying way. Rather than be constrained by the relatively small space where His Three Daughters plays out in primary fashion, Jacobs and his actors use the claustrophobic setting of the apartment and the kind of relentless ticking clock nature of the father's impending death to dial up the tension and further fuel the conflict that has been simmering among the three women for much of their lives. I can't recommend His Three Daughters enough. It's, again, streaming on Netflix. How about that?
Wow. You can see sounds like the class of the litter there on Netflix, His Three Daughters. Did you use the word denouement?
Yeah, I did.
His Three Daughters, the best film of the lot, really.
I believe so.
Available on Netflix. Wolves. Let me just summarize these, and then you can throw in. I'm curious about a new TV series.
Right.
I'd like
I'm
get
ready
your
to roll,
reaction.
buddy.
Hang on. The what I was saying, I'm sorry, was Wolves is the bickering buddy flick that Michael mentioned with Brad Pitt and George Clooney and Amy Ryan for a second. The director of the Spider-Man movies, he had hoped for better with that kind of pedigree. He says it just, maybe a throwaway streamer kind of night, but really not a lot to recommend Wolves. But nonetheless, you do have all those stars, and it's not awful. Never Let Go is the sci-fi thriller with Halle Berry. Michael said that she's great, or very good. Her children who, appear in the film, that is to say the people who are actors who portray her kids, they're really good. So everybody's really good. What's wrong with it? It's a sci-fi thriller with a premise that Michael, this is what I'm getting, Michael, you please, as always, can, fill in whatever confidence.
It's as much a horror in the woods movie as a sci-fi movie. But yes, you're right. There are elements of sci-fi to it because we're expecting there's an apocalypse lurking out beyond.
And your point, and just the point, regardless of what genre you put it in, is sort of like that threat is you felt it wasn't drawn out enough, or meaning it wasn't clear enough. It was almost too opaque for it to really work with the rest of the film.
Well, I'm so glad you really are paying attention sometime. Yeah, I think opaque is the perfect big word.
What?
Transformers 1 is the film for the whole family, as long as it's not my family, because it sounds like it's maybe geared toward kids. A lot of big stars have voiced the Transformers animated project. Enjoy it. It is, I believe, you were saying it's the first in a series, right? That's why it's called Transformers 1?
It's maybe the first in a series of prequels about the Transformers, who we only meet in other projects when they show up on Earth. But this is,
I see. So this is how we got to them is the point.
Yeah, this is their backstory, and they're already talking about Transformers 2, continuing the backstory. It's for fans. I like to call something like this good of kind. Never been a big Transformers fanatic, and so I'm not the target audience, but they did a good job for what it was.
Lee is the next film that he reviewed. Lee Miller, a real war correspondent. Kate Winslet plays Lee Miller, and she's surrounded by very strong supporting work from Alexander Skarsgård, Andy Samberg's in it, and Andrea Riseborough. And Lee apparently is, it sounds like she's, again, another virtuoso performance that she turns in here, Kate Winslet. And, yes. And it's good, not great, is what I got from your review.
It's conventional in what it does, but, we cannot get too few movies that address the horrors of World War II. We, always remember.
Yeah. So Lee is in theaters. A Different Man is the film that features Sebastian Stan, who's beginning the movie, from what I got, with a deformed visage. It sounds like his face is pretty carved up somehow. I don't know what happened, but he achieves some kind of amazing medical procedure and is transformed from deformed into Sebastian Stan. And then a love story ensues, and I guess questions as to that which haunts his character as a result of the fact that he was coming from this deformity. And that informs a lot of the narrative that goes on. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, it's hard to escape the inner workings of your mind when you have that kind of background and circumstance.
Sounds utterly fascinating to me, although you gave it a qualified recommendation. I didn't sense a tremendous enthusiasm from you for this. You thought it was okay, good.
No, I thought it was quite good. I just didn't scream and yell and start clapping.
Okay.
I thought it was a very good. I thought it was a very good film, Mark.
Well, because I'm intrigued by A Different Man, I think I might go see that. That's in theaters. The Substance is the Demi Moore film. She's also in the film acting opposite Margaret Qualley, who is Andy McDowell's daughter. And I'm sure she loves every time her name mentioned that it's always qualified by Andy McDowell's daughter. And Dennis Quaid is in it as well. Now, the substance, from what I got, is basically the curse of modern society and how the demands of appearance and cosmetic appeal ultimately weigh on Demi Moore's character to the point that she undergoes this operation. Is that a fair summary?
No, it's not an operation. It's a substance, and it's actually available via mail order. And I got to say, it's crazy. The operation, and a weird kind of operation it is what kind of salvages Edward, the deformed actor's visage in A Different Man. This is a compound.
What threw me is there's a in the poster there is a like stitching up and down her spine. You know what I mean? So that made me think, there's a surgery of some kind. But you're saying it's that's important to the plot, and it's the sort of thing I don't want to talk about, and it's part of the horror. And I just would suggest to you that it is a provocative image that maybe will draw some people in to see this very smart movie about some serious issues that face society. That is in theaters now. The Substance, it's called.
Yes.
Michael, I want to ask you about this new TV series, Agatha All Along. What is this?
Well, we did talk enough about Megalopolis earlier. Agatha All Along is a new series that's actually almost a sequel than a new series. It's on Disney Plus. It is a Marvel offering, and it does tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but that's not necessary to enjoy. Knowing about the MCU is not necessary to enjoying Agatha All Along. And to put it in context, it is a 9-episode follow-up to WandaVision, which was a brilliant extrapolation of the MCU with Elizabeth Olsen, aforementioned, playing the witch Wanda Maximoff. And this is about her, I guess we'd call her the rival in Wanda's life, and that would be Agatha Harkness, portrayed by Kathryn Hahn. And this series, so far, I've seen the first 4 episodes, it is a riot. It stars Kathryn Hahn, Aubrey Plaza, Patti LuPone, Deborah Jo Rupp, and Sashir Zameda, among other people. It features witchcraft, musical numbers, snark for days, and if you can, you should check it out. And I don't know that it's necessary to have seen WandaVision, but that is an exceptional piece of work in the context of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And kind of in a bait and switch, Agatha All Along starts with this spot-on parody of the HBO woman-centric detective series Mayor of Easttown. And a few more similar shows, even Danish ones, with Hahn kind of playing Hahn is playing the Kate Winslet character from Mayor. But it kicks into gear halfway through that first episode. And again, you don't need to know much Marvel lore to get it. And the basic setup is that Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, exacted revenge on her cruel rival, Agatha Harkness, trapping the latter by stealing her powers and leaving her with false memories in small-town New Jersey. It takes off from there, with Agatha gathering a bunch of other witches to somehow recover her powers. And, it is fun, and these actresses are just superb. They're so much fun to watch.
They're all highly skilled crafts people, Did you use the words extrapolation and aforementioned?
I'm sure I did.
Okay. Michael, Agatha All Along is recommended, and it is streamable. Am I right about that?
Disney Plus, baby.
Disney Plus, kid. Michael, this is it was a gift to have you for this long visit. The Culture Blaster, if truth be told, we had technical issues, not related to anything on our show or on your end. It was the elements that got in the way of your appearance, and so we dropped this video separately, but I'm glad we did because we got to spend a little extra time with you. And so thank you, Michael Snyder. I know I thank you. The audience thanks you. And if you have anything more to say, now would be the time to say it. Otherwise, I am going to bid you farewell, sir. You can find Michael Snyder at thevoicessf.org. Thevoicessf.org is where he writes, he muses, and he shares. And I recommend it to you. The
voicesf.org is the website for the Voice of San Francisco, which is a full-service regular newspaper that you can see online.
Thevoicesf.org. I think I said the voices. Thevoicesf.org. Michael, thank you. We adore you. Thank you for being here. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Magical, Michael. Bye-bye, Culture Blaster.
See you next Friday, everybody.
Bye-bye.
What he's got going here is a situation.
It is true. Our situation is cool.
The Mark Thompson Show.